April 16th meeting of the Kingston Planning Board. It is now 6:48 p.m. I'd just like to introduce the members of the board who are here, our members around the table. To my left, your right, is our town engineer, Dennis Quintel. We have soon-to-be elected planning board, or soon-to-be appointed planning board member, Ben Romano. We have planning board member, Peter Coffin. My name is Lynn Merrill, I'm the chair. Robin Carter is our land use administrator. Elector Alessio is our selectman's representative to the board. Robin Duguay is the vice chair of the board, and our town planner is Glenn Greenwood. Missing for the moment tonight is Rob Trisolo, and as soon as he frees up from work, he'll be joining us. So welcome to the meeting. The way public hearings happen, well, actually, let's get a little board business out of the way first. Why don't we do that first? Do I have a nomination?
I certainly would be delighted to ask that by
Do we have a second?
No, I'll second.
Okay. Do we have any discussion? Guess we all know Ben's qualifications to sit on the board. So that being said, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Welcome to the board, Ben.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we'll have you sworn in so that you can participate.
You solemnly and sincerely swear and affirm that you will faithfully and impartially discharge and perform all duties incumbent upon you as a planning board member according to the best of your abilities, agreeably to the rules and regulations of the Constitution and laws of the state of New Hampshire. So help you God.
Do we have a motion to appoint William Jerome the Fourth as an alternate to the board?
He's not here.
He's not here. He's unable to be here tonight.
He volunteered, which is that's good. And he's a resident, so.
He's a warm body.
He lives on Lincoln Circle.
Go ahead, Peter, make the motion.
I'll move that we appoint
William?
William.
Jerome, also known as Liam.
Yeah.
The fourth.
The fourth, okay. As stated, to the alternate position of alternate on the planning board.
Wait a second. Second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
And that is unanimous. We will welcome Liam.
So he can get sworn in.
Yeah, he knows he needs to get sworn in with Tammy sometime this week. Okay. The next thing we're going to do is a change in the agenda. We are going to move the agenda item number 3 to agenda item number 1. We have a request for the continuation for the hearing of Hawks Ridge of South Kingston LLC, which is at Mulligan Way and Bent Grass Circle, map R3, lot 4, land unit 4020. It's a reapplication for a limited common area adjustment and amended site plan. The Village of Granite Fields condominiums. The intent of this application is to seek an approval for the owner applicant to relocate one of the proposed age-restricted single-family residential units from its current approved location to a new location that would be partially within the 1,000-foot setback from Route 125. The proposal is to relocate Unit 20 from its original location on Mulligan Way to Bent Grass Circle, just right of land, limited common area 34. Do we have a motion?
I'll move to accept the request for continuation.
Second?
I'll second it for the purpose of the discussion. How many?
So this is they have been coming before us to do this in one form or another since August or September. And this is the second time for this one. The concern we have is that they do not yet have permission to discuss this in front of us from the property owner, which is the condominium association.
Isn't lot 20 the one that was, they had to get rid of it?
Yes.
So now to try to relocate it?
Mm-hmm.
I do have a more technical question. This, as Ellie will remember, was based on a variance that expired in February. My question is, the applicant got the application in before the variance expired, and thereby getting it in within the 2-year period from the variance being granted. The question is, was that application for the current location, or was that the application that had been coming up, as Lynn pointed out, for the location, its original location that had been denied by the planning board a few years ago?
The application that's before us now, and that was applied for in February, is for a new location. It's for the location that was set aside for the clubhouse.
Okay.
Currently being used as a storage area for their RVs.
They did have
All right.
a previous application with an
Okay,
entirely different site.
okay, so that was,
Yeah.
yeah, and that was, that's my question, is
And that was
to
between two
when did that
existing
switch over
structures.
occur? So that this
That
application,
one, they
Yeah.
withdrew, the applicant withdrew by themselves.
right,
They closed that application out.
And this is within the 1,000-foot,
Yes,
so they'd have to get a variance from the from the zoning board anyway?
They did.
received that variance.
Oh, they received that variance.
but that's the one that expired, yeah, it was 2 years, more than 2 years ago now.
More than 2 years ago.
But they got it under the wire, that's why I was asking about whether it was the same application. So, and Ellie will remember that when they applied, some of the landowners were there and questioned whether the applicant at the time, which was not the condo association, actually owned the land, and we proceeded with the variance request, but the question had been, what happens if it turns out he doesn't own the land, and that appears to be the case. So it may not have been it may not be a valid
We've given
variance.
them a lot of time
Yes, and we've
to
got,
resolve this issue,
yeah, and
and it hasn't been resolved.
it sounds to me we didn't get an application from the landowner.
Correct.
So within the 2-year timeframe, so I would certainly say it's denial. They can go back to the process if they want to. If the landowner wants to, they could go through the process of getting a variance and proceeding again once they've reached a decision. But it sounds like that this was a premature application.
They've had a lot of time to resolve the issue and have been unable to do so.
Right. Okay. So I would agree with Ellie that I would not vote to continue this.
Well, then,
So you have a motion.
Motion on the floor to
table
continue.
accept
To accept it.
continuance.
correct. So that way, we'd have to take action on that first.
Right, sorry, yeah, and that's, but what I'm saying is that on that motion, I would vote no on because of the way that the,
If you vote no on that motion, then your application dies on the line.
Okay, does it die without prejudice, basically?
Well, we would make that part of the motion.
You can make it part of the
Okay.
motion.
So we could vote no and not grant the continuation, and they're done right now.
They would have.
yeah, and they start from scratch, and it doesn't matter if you say with or without prejudice, it's
There are
still,
yes, there are so many issues on that property, there's probably gonna be civil litigation, and that probably needs to happen, it's not not germane to our proceedings.
right, yeah, there's other issues, but
Totally.
the issue right now is that 50-foot variance.
Is the request for a continuance. If you don't grant the request for the continuance, the application fails today.
Right.
And then when they have permission from the landowner to come forward, then they can be applied.
They can reapply.
Okay.
So would we need to amend the motion? Oh, if we vote no now, does that mean we're not adding without prejudice to it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's-
It doesn't meet,
Doesn't matter.
it doesn't affect their actions, so.
Okay. So, are we ready for the vote? All those in favor of granting the continuance signify by saying aye. Do you have a second one? Yeah, the aye. Okay, seeing none, all those opposed to the continuance?
Aye.
Again, unanimous. Okay, thank you very much. So, moving forward, just so members of the public understand the way our procedures work, is that the applicant comes forward, they present their plan, the planning board asks questions, we get reports from our town engineer and our planner. When we've sort of had a chance to ask a few questions, then we allow the general public to come forward. You need to come forward and sit at this table so that you're within the microphone range, so that people watching at home can hear what you're saying, and make your comments, ask your questions, and then when you've completed public comment, in the public comment period, then we'll close public comment, and the applicant will come back and we'll have further discussion. After that discussion, the planning board will make a decision as to how to move forward. Okay. So, the next public hearing is 92-C Main Street and 94 Main Street, map U7, lot 10 and 11. The applicant is James Lavelle, LLC. The property owner is Susan Paradis? Okay. And the JDS&C Trust, LLC. The applicant is requesting a boundary line lot line adjustment between map U7, lot 10, 92-C Main Street, and a 13-acre and a .13-acre lot and lot U7, and map, that should be map lot U7, lot 17, 94 Main Street, a 2.01-acre lot in the single-family residential aquifer zone. This proposal is to transfer 0.21 acres from U7-11 to U7-10 to increase the lot size to 0.34 acres for lot 10 and reduce the lot size of lot 11 to 1.8 acres. And welcome.
You've just recited my presentation, thank you. Basically, this map shows the two lots.
You need microphone on.
You need your microphone.
First.
And could you also
Okay,
please
it's
introduce
green.
yourself?
The plan on the easel shows the two lots as they exist now. Blue is the larger one to the north, and the red one is also on the edge of the pond with a 10-foot right-of-way from Main Street to it. As you stated, the proposal is to change the smaller lot. That will increase in size. I'll flip the easel.
And sir, we do need you to give us your name. We need your name for the record.
James Lavelle, licensed land surveyor.
Thank you.
That, you see, will be the change. Again, it increases the size of the smaller lot. Make it more livable and more friendly for the summertime. There's no frontage on that lot as it exists. Again, it has the right-of-way from Main Street. The frontage on the larger lot does not change, and that is simply what they want to do.
Okay. Thank you. Glenn?
My comments on this. This is the first public hearing for the proposal, and the plan is complete from my perspective. Both the planning board is not authorized to approve a plan where a non-conforming lot is made smaller. As a result, the planning board must deny the application so the property owners can apply to the ZBA for zoning review. Now, this, even though they're keeping the lot at 80,000 square feet, which is the tax requirement, this is located within the aquifer protection zone. So the standard lot size is 3 acres, not 2 acres. So the ZBA is the only board that is empowered to do that, but boundary line adjustments are a requirement of the planning board. So this process is necessary, but it can't go forward without the ZBA first taking an action.
Okay. Dennis?
Okay, so I received the documents April 10th, and I offer the following comments. And I have a copy here for you, Jim, too, so you don't have to copy it down. The plan is a simple lot line adjustment between two lots. Lot 11 is 2.1 acres and lot 10 is 0.13 acres. The LLA proposes to subtract 0.21 acres from lot 11, add it to lot 10. This action will make the area of lot 11 to be 78,590 square feet. My question is, does this meet the minimum lot size? And I think that's what Glenn was alluding to, that it doesn't meet the lot size. My comment number 2 is I note that the proposed property line will be 15 feet from the existing dwelling on lot 11. Does this meet the town zoning requirements for building setback, which I think is 20 feet, I think, for the setback for property lines? So that's an issue too that might need to be addressed. Number 3, note 4 refers to 10-foot lake access for lots 8, 9, and 11. The plan shows it for lots 8, 9, and 10. It should be for 8, 9, and 10, but the note says 8, 9, and 11. So that's an easy fix, just a drafting thing. That's note number 4 at the top of the page. Number 4, a deed reference is for lot 12, which I don't think is part of this application. And my comment number 5 is a boundary certification will be required. And I'd just like to add one more thing, is I was talking to another well-respected surveyor in the state today at a conference that I had in Manchester, and was explaining what was happening here, and he said, don't forget that the state has their rules that say anything less than 5 acres requires state subdivision approval. And where this lot is less than the state requirements and is being made less, that perhaps state subdivision approval is required prior to planning board taking final approval of this. And if I'm incorrect, maybe a letter from the state would say that, but I kind of think that that's something the board ought to be aware of as well. So I just wanted to bring that up as a comment. And that's all I have at this time. Thank you.
I believe that the 10-foot lake access for lots 8, 9, and 11 is indeed for 11. If you look at the gravel drive and how it goes through, it's like a U-shaped driveway for lot 11.
Oh, I see what you're saying, is lot 11 then? But it is for 10 also, right?
I think there's another access to 10, isn't there? No? No. Then it would be for 10 as well then. Yeah.
Well, anyways, however,
Yes.
However you correct that, it just seemed like...
I've addressed that issue before relative to subdivision approval, and I'm sure I can get a letter from the state regarding that.
That's my understanding, is that since it's a boundary line adjustment, the law already exists, that they won't require it.
Yeah, you're right.
That's now that we're...
Glenn, my impression was when you and the other Glenn were talking about this is that because this starts as 2 lots and stays as 2 lots, there isn't a third lot being created, that's where the subdivision would come in if you were creating a brand new, a third lot.
That's my understanding.
Yeah.
I can address it. Madam Chair, I realize we will certainly have to go before the Board of Adjustment, but I think what Ms. Paradis is trying to do is improve one of the lots. It may be a question as to whether we can receive the variance for the setback from that building, but we may be able to. At least I think changing the lots, it does nothing but help the smaller one and do little to injure the larger one.
No question, yeah, agreed.
Any other questions from the board? Before we go further, why don't we open this for public comment? So, Mr. Lavelle, if you wouldn't mind taking it back, and we'll let anyone that wishes to make a comment come forward and sit by the microphone. So if you'd like to come forward and make a comment or ask a question, we'd love to have you do that. You do indeed need to give us your name and your address. Okay. Any public comment?
That's a big no take.
No public comment. We will now close public comment. Thank you.
I would ask that you continue this meeting to the next, obviously timing to go to the Board of Adjustment, then come back. To continue it to a date at this point uncertain.
Dave, well, would you be going before the Board of Adjustment in May?
Was the application deadline for the Board of Adjustment last week?
It's Thursday.
This
It
coming
was Thursday
Thursday?
this week.
Okay.
Oh,
Well, we can do that, yes.
So we would want to be very specific about what relief was needed
Yeah.
tonight so that they could reduce the app.
what they have to come to is whether or not they want to ask a variance for that 15-foot setback.
We do.
Or, okay, well, then those are the two variances.
Those are the two variances.
The 15-foot setback.
Oh, right, okay, so,
And
yeah.
the
And this would be the time where we would use the term without prejudice, because otherwise I'd have to recuse myself, because I'm on the ZBA, so, but since we're really sending this to them without prejudice,
correct.
yeah.
We're sending it to them to do what they need to do.
Okay. So we need a motion? The date would be
Yeah, probably Robin
May
needs to.
21st
For us, right?
for us.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to continue the proposed lot line adjustment at 92C Main Street and 94 Main Street, Matthew 7, lot 10 and 11 to May 21st at 6:45 p.m. with,
They will make updated.
well, alright, with updated plans due, what date of it?
The- wait a minute, but this meeting, the plans would be due the 9th? Yep. On the 9th,
Due May 9th
at noon.
at noon.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed?
I'm going to abstain, no, no,
Oh,
not
one-
opposed, not opposed.
And
I'm
abstain?
going to abstain since Rob's here. We don't need me for a quorum,
need
so
you.
otherwise,
And one abstention.
just to keep it clean.
So,
I just want to run down. I don't think the ZBA meeting's still here, it's just here. So do we need to adjust that?
oh,
Do we need to-
okay, what we may need to do is amend that because the ZBA meeting is on May 10th. The plans are due to us by May 9th. So we may want to make them to us by the 11th. Wait a minute, no, wait a minute.
No, the ZBA meeting's on the 9th.
That's a Wednesday?
It's Thursday.
Oh, it's a Thursday. Oh, the meeting's on the 9th.
Sorry,
So plans are due to us by
the 9th.
the same night. Okay. So we may want to
Madam
make
Chair,
plans due to us by the 10th?
Just conferred with my client. Why don't we continue this until the June meeting?
Okay.
That way, we'll be sure and
Sure,
not
everything's
have to
done.
come in May and ask for a continuance then.
Do we want to do the 18th or the
18th.
18th? So I'll amend the motion for a continuation to June 18th with plans due, I think, due on the 6th by noon?
Yeah.
And I'll concur with the seconder of the motion.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? And one abstention.
Oh, that's right.
Thank you for your
So for
consideration.
the members of the public, you will not receive another notice of the meeting. The next meeting is June 21st, and they will be at a future zoning board meeting. You will receive notice of that, because they need two variances, one for the 15 feet from the residence on lot 11, and also for the fact that one of the lots is being made smaller, which is against our ordinances. So, see you all at a future meeting. June 18th? Oh, he didn't put that calendar date start or something. Okay. Did we say the 18th on the motion?
Yeah, you did, but you just told them.
Oh, okay, well. Okay. So, was supposed to be second, now the third public hearing of the evening is Selco Partnership, doing business as Verizon Wireless. And for this hearing, I'm going to step down as chair and have my vice chair take my place, because Robin has chaired this for the last 2 meetings, and even though I've read all the minutes and think I'm pretty much up to date on this, I want to make certain that the person who knows the most about it is sitting in place. So, please, Robin. And the microphone's on there.
Oh, thank you. All right, so this will be the third, correct, hearing for this proposal. If you maybe want to just give a quick sort of summary and talk about any of the changes between last meeting and tonight.
Excellent, great. Hope Adam can hear me back there. Again, Chip Fredette here on behalf of Verizon Wireless. I apologize for missing last month's meeting. Mark reported back to me that that the board and the public had reviewed in depth our findings with the balloon float and the view shed analysis, and that the sentiment was that still folks would like to see the site relocated. So I took that back, and I had a very, very long conversation with Mr. Kimball, and he agreed to allow us to relocate the site such that it will be several hundred feet away from all property lines. I think that's probably best seen on sheet Z1 for now, and I can get into a little bit more of the details in a second here, but again, sheet Z1 is our abutters plan. And where we were once 50 feet from the Hampstead boundary line, that northwesterly boundary line, the site is now proposed to be 374 feet from that boundary line. From the rear lot line, well, the lot line that's closest to us at the rear is 228 feet. From the frontage, we're about 736 feet. And then from the Plastow sideline, we're at 368 feet. If you turn to sheet Z2, this is the site plan zoomed in, overlaid with aerial image. So the aerial map there on Z2. So no surprise here, we're still proposing to use the same point of access from 121A. And essentially where we once turned left to go to that site where we floated the balloon, we're turning right, and actually we're going to benefit from some of the wood line there towards the east side, the right side of the sheet here. So there'll be probably 30, 40 feet of tree cutting to finish the road into the woods, and then the site will benefit from I'd say 3.5 sides of vegetation in and around that compound. Power and fiber are utilities. Well, again, we'll still route from the same location, overhead, along the right side of the existing driveway. They will go underground, I'm sorry, they'll stay overhead until we get past the wetland culvert, and then they'll go underground from there in the open area of that aerial view, all the way to the site. So a little bit of both, still a little bit of overhead, and then underground beyond the wetland into the proposed compound. Let's see. We had our wetland scientist visit this location. She flagged the area. We submitted a report. Matt, did Kevin Hatch pick up the flags yet or not yet? No. Not yet. Okay, so Kevin Hatch, our surveyor, will go out and pick those up, and we will provide to you the wetlands shown on the plan view, but to date, all we had time to provide you was Audra's memo. So you have that there. And in summary, there are no wetlands within 100 feet of the site. Put a finer point on that. Where she, thank you. Yeah, she describes. The wetland that's within 100 feet, she described that as having, I think it earned 6 or 7 points in the ordinance.
The next to the last paragraph.
The existing driveway, which is,
Says no other wetlands were observed within the view area.
right. Oh, next to last, that's the last one, okay. Yeah, no other wetlands were observed within the review area. No wetland impacts are expected as the proposed tower access will follow the existing gravel drive. Direct wetland impacts would require, of course, DES and town review. Impacts to the wetland buffer may require town review of the town where the buffer impact would occur.
Can I just, sorry, can I ask that, yeah, if you could hold for public comment, that would be great, thanks.
And again, we will have, by the next meeting, certainly a copy of this revised plan showing, Kevin Hatch will pick up those flags for us, and we'll have those areas delineated for you, so.
Report does have a picture in the back that shows the locations of the.
Yes.
That she described.
Yep. Yep. The last page in that report is perhaps LiDAR? Oh, it's granite. She used the granite view LiDAR. And X marking the spot of the tower. And then the closest wetland to which she refers are flags numbered BB1 through BB8. And again, that will be more clearly defined on our site plan next round here for you.
Glenn?
Surprised me, I thought we were going to be against it. Just because I have no idea why I thought that. All right, so I don't typically revise my letters because I just take things off as the applicant removes issues from us. In this case, I did do a couple of different editorial changes from the memo that I sent you guys last week, just because I was able to look at the wetlands report today. I wasn't able to do that last Thursday when I was in the office. So bear with me, I'll go through my changes quickly. I just have that this is the third public hearing for the construction of a new wireless communication tower, the land located in the rural residential zone in South Kingston, with a revised plan offered that moves the location of the proposed tower further from the property lines. Most of my issues are addressed. I just wanted to point out that the board is required to consider the approval of both the CUP and the site plan review within this application process. Then as far as my numbered comments go, they have addressed all of my issues except for 9, which was the bonding for removal and or abandonment of this tower can also be considered by the planning board. The applicant has provided a bond estimate for tower removal as part of the materials. So that's something the board should look at and consider. And I added, this is something I never do, but I added a whole new comment because of the wetland report that was provided. And I just said the proposed new tower location is addressed in the wetlands report dated 11 April 2024. According to this report, the tower maintains regulatory buffer distances according to the Kingston Wetlands Conservation District zoning ordinance. And I asked the question, does the planning board want an independent review of this report, because that's within the board's right to do. Again, I would say, I thought that the report seemed comprehensive, outlined the areas that the wetland scientists found to be in existence in the revised area of work, and it seems like there is no wetlands impact, but that again is something that the board can do.
Dennis?
Yes, thank you. So I reviewed the comments from my previous comments, and the ones that I believe have been addressed, I deleted, but others remain, and a few new comments added. So my first comment was that the person, according to Article 9045G7, person who flagged the edge of wetlands must stamp this and sign the plan. I think the previous plan, she did have her stamp on it, but it'll have to be on the final plan anyways. Comment number 3 was the lot is located on the southwest corner, so you don't have to copy stuff down. Portion of the lot is in Plasto, and it abuts the town of Hampstead. The plan says that there are 53 plus or minus acres based on a survey. Article 9045G36 says provide a survey property line information. The plan notes that it's not intended to be a boundary survey, and the lot line has dimensions but no bearings. Should a waiver be required, which sheet should be recorded, and others noted to be on file with the town. My comment number 4 was there is an existing access driveway onto the lot from Route 121A in Hampstead. The first 135 feet of the access is paved. The gravel driveway extends an existing cleared area that appears to be used for stockpiling materials. Perhaps the plan should identify the type of materials that are and will be stored on the lot. And I'm thinking about this, I mean, obviously that has nothing to do with the tower, but I just didn't want to bring that up for the board to consider since it is in the area. I didn't know if the type of materials that are being stored there is something that should have some sort of a note on the plan or not. Number 5, the access driveway crosses a wetland and has a 15-inch culvert pipe to convey surface water from one side of the driveway to the other. The wetland dredge and fill must be noted on the plan or provide verification that the wetland fill was done before state regulations were created. Comment number 7 was the tower setback radius of 98 feet extends over the Plasto line into Plasto. Location of the 140-foot monopole tower will have a drop zone over the lot line. I wonder if an easement is required or written permission is required from the town of Plasto. Article 9045G9 also, why couldn't the tower be located farther from the property line so there would be no impact to the town? But again, that's a question that could be answered, and maybe it can't be moved. Number 8, on sheets Z3 and Z4, the lot line for Hampstead is labeled Plasto, and that's just a drafting thing that can be changed. Number 9, note 2, sheet Z4 says underground is going to be used, but the plan says overhead in a couple of spots, so maybe that should be clarified as to what's going to be overhead and what's going to be underground. And if you don't know at this time, you can probably put a note for that effect, but it just seemed confusing when I was looking at it, what's going to be underground, what's not going to be, and just to clarify that might be appropriate for the plan.
Can do, yep.
Number 10, sheet Z6 shows the proposed tower. The supplied exhibit R shows a camouflage tower photo. I think that's what this is.
We were asked for a sample
Yeah,
of what those look
so
like.
if that's what's going to be used, perhaps a note in the plan should be added to the fact that if this is what's going to be used, there should be a note on the plan that says that's what's going to be used. Sheet Z7, detail refers to note 4, but there's no note 4.
Right.
So I don't know what that means, but you can fix that. I did go over the wetlands report by Audra Klum. She's a well-respected soil scientist, and the report was comprehensive. And she does say, and I noted that it was, that she said no wetlands within the review area. So my personal opinion is I don't believe you need to have another third-party review on that, because I think that the report was pretty well done. In review of the bond, I don't really have a concern about the number that was created for the bond amount. However, I know what we've done in the past for bonds, especially for something that might be done in the future. We've added 25% for inflation purposes, and I think that would add another $6,914 to that amount. And if the board wants to do and have some sort of a review by me or the building inspector, there sometimes is a bond that would be included for that. So something to consider if you're going to need to have something like that for the future as well. And so that typically in the past was 4% of whatever the bond is. So those numbers are easy to put together and come up with an addition to that if that's what the board would like to do. But those are my comments, and hopefully that's helpful for the board.
Thank you. Any comments from the board before we move to public comment?
First, I'd just like to say thank you, because I know our last meeting, it was like, we felt that you hadn't made the effort to go and consider moving the pole away from the residential area, and it looks like you've responded in a very positive manner, and the folks there from Hampstead, they're behind you, I think should appreciate that new location. I really think it shows a good thing. I am a little concerned when you talked about the next meeting, because and to finish the plans up to show the wetlands and stuff on it, and that if we're going to do that, we'll need a tolling agreement.
Yep.
Okay. And I don't know if you have a sample one that you can draw up.
Yes.
Or just, okay, that we could sign tonight.
Not a
and
problem. Yep.
That'd be great. And we can discuss how much time
Sure.
that we needed for that, because as we know, it expires next week, or in 10 days. So, and I know that you haven't done it yet, but the environmental assessment that you talked about.
Correct.
Providing
NEPA screening. Yep.
And if we can get an electronic copy so that it can be sent to the, when you do file for the building permit, it could be sent to the Conservation Commission. Their one comment that I noticed wasn't addressed was that they, and it's in the minutes, I think I wrote it down.
They had made a comment about the site in the previous location where they thought there was some value to that wetland that might support wildlife habitat, and wondered if we're going to do or contact
New Hampshire Fish and Game and non-game.
And the answer is yes to that, and to SHPO, and to Tribal, and to the FAA, and the FCC.
Yeah, I would think that would be part of the EA was to
to
contact Fish and Game. And my impression is, because of the new location is up in the woods, which is not turtle nesting habitat, but by putting the pad in there and having a southerly slope sandy surface, it may actually improve the nesting habitat area by clearing that, so that I think the net result will be positive towards that. And obviously the turtles don't nest on the compacted
Right.
road that goes in there, so that,
Right.
and that's out of the way, but, so I don't anticipate any problems at all, but I did want to mention that they had asked that you contact Fish and Game.
In the off chance that any of those agencies through the NEPA screening deem something about the site negative or awry, and they ask us to change it, we're back in front of you with that change, back to square one, so.
Okay. And Dennis brought up the camouflage pole, and we'd asked that you provide a sample photograph, and we understand that the antenna elements will be still visible, but from a distance, a camouflage pole will look a lot more like a pine tree sitting up there than just a monopole antenna would. And I think it would be an improvement. So I'm thinking from our aesthetic standpoint that we would ask probably, I would check with the rest of the board, but we would probably ask for the camouflage. In spite of the fact that you've moved it farther away from the residential area, it's still pretty open. Glenn, you don't think so? You think it looks ugly, right?
I just think it looks more offensive, but.
Okay, well,
This is a personal thing, so.
Well, here's an interesting point to make. When I originally presented to you folks back in January, I showed you the existing coverage maps, our network, and there are, that area of Kingston, Hampstead, Plastow benefits from the service from probably 4 or 5 different existing towers that have been in existence for probably since 99, 2000, 2001, and they're all monopoles, and they're all in plain view. Somebody a lot smarter than me once said that towers are most visible during zoning.
Well,
here we are.
Yeah.
Couldn't be. And to that end, in my 23 years of doing this, nobody has ever said during any public session, "Boy, that's a great place for a tower." It has never been said.
Right. Yeah.
So,
No, I get that.
I'll
This
leave
is
it alone.
this is a better place for the tower than the last place was, and probably we can ask for public comment. We could get some idea of that. The bonding issues you addressed, and the board can discuss about the additions for interest and engineering review. And the other item was the generator noise level. I noticed on the Kohler, it was up about 95 decibels, was the high level. Yeah, on the first model, like, the Generac one was only about 75 decibels, but the Kohler, for some reason, I think it had less muffling. On the certain microphones, the highest values were up at about. At any rate, the best part about this is that would have exceeded our town regulations at the property line if you hadn't moved the pole. But with the 6 decibel per distance doubling, starting at the 23 feet, you get it down to about 70 decibels. Actually, I figured it at 360 feet. This is a little bit more than that, 374. So it's down below 70 decibels, which would be within the ordinance level at the property line, based on the 6 decibel attenuation at distance-based.
Yeah, and I would also add that if the generator were running during a power outage, providing service,
that's a different thing. Yeah,
it people will likely hear the neighbor's generator over ours. So
yeah,
the other generators running at the same
during
time.
a power outage, I don't think it's a big deal because that's emergency generation
to be expected. Sure.
And it's going to be at night, which is when the decibel levels drop. But that's for avoidable noise. This,
we can take it a step further and poll the board and find out when it is you'd like us to schedule the maintenance cycle, 20-minute maintenance cycle, and program it that way. For example, when we do church steeple co-locations, so antennas in the steeple, radio equipment, basement, outside, whatever, backup generator, you know, we'll schedule that for a Wednesday, not a Sunday morning. So it's happened the wrong way, and so we had to correct it. But know that we're open to whenever you'd like us to do that, so.
Yeah, no, I think that, given the new location, I think you're fine.
Okay.
It may be something you want to tweak as far as directionally. If there's a angled exhaust pipe that could be angled away from the residential zone, that
Sure.
would be good. But other than that, I think the Kohler version is inside an enclosure, so it,
They both have sound attenuated enclosures.
yeah.
They both do,
okay.
yep.
Looked like one just had the exhaust coming out the top end.
Yeah, it's no different than you see at any commercial building, hospital, much smaller than that, of course, but.
Right.
Yeah.
And so those were the comments that I had, and as I said, thank you for moving it and for listening.
Any other comments from the board? No? All right, so we will open for public comment at 7:39. Thank you, gentlemen. I think everyone's familiar with the process, but if you want to come forward, the mic's on, so you're good there. Just say your name and address, please.
I'm going to put this down here so you can look at what their sample represents, because we got to see it.
Well, hello again. I'm Doug Boulay. I'm at 70 Ellison Avenue in Hampstead. And, you know, while we appreciate that the tower has been suggested to be moved, just don't think it's been moved far enough. I mean, it's still probably, 700 feet to my property. And, you know, last time we were here, I know it's not a law, but there's recommendations from New Hampshire that the towers be located 1,600 feet from all residential properties, and you know, there's plenty of land here to do that. All the space off to the right, past the, I think the name was Moderano, sorry, Miranda property. I don't understand why can't the tower be located somewhere within there where it's not going to be close to anybody's property. We wouldn't have to hear this diesel generator. You know, the fumes would be further away from us. So those are our concerns, right? That he has 50 acres of land and he's still, you know, so close to residences. You know, both Hampstead and Plastow are zoned, you know, light residential in this area. Hampstead and Plastow people are going to be the most affected by this tower. So I think it should be taken into consideration that both those towns would not allow a cell phone tower to be placed in a residential zone. You know, we're concerned still that it's too close. You know, my wife and I, we worked our entire lives to get to a place that we love and is quiet, and we want to raise our family there. And, you know, I don't want my kids to be exposed to the radiation that, you know, the towers can emit. So thank you for your time and appreciate you hearing my concerns.
Thank you. Any further comment from the public? No? All right, seeing none, we will close public comment at 7:42. Feel free to come back up if you want, yep. And back to the board. So we have consideration of a conditional use permit on the table, as well as, I guess my question, Glenn, would we need to tackle that before a possible continuation? Or could we?
Or should we wait until we get?
If the motion on either of those two things without seeing
The revised plans.
revised plans, yes.
Got it. So what is the pleasure of the board?
I think we probably should work out the details of the bonding agreement so that that can be finalized. I don't, Dennis, do you feel you need any more review time, or you feel comfortable with the, is it 20% or 25% for inflation? You said 25?
25% is usually what we do for the inflation part of it. Certainly that can be adjusted. You want to make it more or less the way the economy is. And in the past, we've done 4% for inspections.
Right.
But that's certainly up to the board if you want to change those numbers. But that's what we've done before on site plans and roads.
Yeah, and I believe the state just changed the bonding requirement, and I know that's for construction and roads, but I think they increased the percentage allowed, but I think that may have gone up to 25%. That's why I was asking.
The other thing to consider is that, my experience is that this is for like a replacement or restoration bond? Is that
Removal.
what it is?
This bond is for removal.
Removal, right. So I'm under the impression that that could be 15, 20 years down the road, and these numbers could change, and they could be adjusted later on by a future planning board. I mean, most of you people will be around, but I might not be. But it might be the type of thing that...
I think we're all on your cohort. So I think we'll all die.
I'm just saying that it can be adjusted, is what I'm saying. So whether you want to increase the percentage now or wait, and this covers it for a certain period of time, and then adjust it further in the future.
Well, I think that as long as we have that as a precedent, that I would move that recommend that the bond amount, that as long as you agree to the base amount for the removal, that we add 25% plus for inflation and 4% for engineering reviews, and approve that as the final. If you want to do the math quickly, we can approve that as the final bonding number. Oh, I said, right, if we're going to have another meeting, yeah.
Could we also do something where the bond gets reevaluated every 5 years or something like that?
So am I hearing that that's not necessarily something we need to?
No, we should have them established, you agree with the applicant on an established bond amount based on those recommendations, and then so that we have a number that we can approve at the next meeting.
Quick question, what is the 4% there, Mr. Kendall? What is it?
For when the action takes place as far as decommissioning and doing stuff like that, and also perhaps inspections along the way by somebody like me or a building inspector, it covers the cost for someone to go out. If there's complaints or whatever needs to be done, that at least it covers the time for somebody from the town to go out.
It's post-construction matters.
Exactly.
Right,
and also it's the type of thing that once they make their revisions and bring them back with new plans and adjusted the bond amount type of thing, it's having your conditions of approval ready to go based on that information. So that would cover what you're talking about, Peter, of dealing with the wording for conditions of approval.
Right, thank you.
And there's one other change that needs to be made to the plan. When you look at the abutters plan, you're looking at Kingston tax map R1 lot 6. That is owned by the town of Kingston. It was sold to the town of Kingston a while ago,
Okay,
so you need to make that change.
okay, R1 lot 6.
It's an important change.
It's very important
If
change.
we don't have that change, then one of our board members can't vote, so.
Sold in December of 20.
Yeah, it was quite a while ago.
Yeah.
Well, that's when the final.
Took a while.
It took about 4 years. to get that square.
They cover lot 7 also, 6 and 7.
Yes.
Oh, did you sell both of those? Okay. R16, R17.
So assuming we're looking to continue, what is the time frame we're thinking?
Yeah, I'm sure that we can have the plans revised, including Kevin's picking up of Audra's flags in time for April's meeting, for the next hearing, so.
April 16th?
Yeah, and what would be the,
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
We are, geez.
May?
May 21st.
It'll be May 21st. Well, I was hoping it wasn't going that fast.
Yes.
By the May meeting,
We're,
yes.
you know, heading towards the middle of the year already.
So you're thinking May 7th or the May 21st?
May 21st, with plans, updated plans due by the 9th, is that correct?
That's correct.
By noon? And then we would need to also, whatever the agreement is, to exceed the shot clock.
Tolling agreement, yeah.
Tolling agreement,
Yep.
thank you. That would need to be finalized. Would that need to be finalized prior to continuing?
Not as long as it's part of this continuation motion.
Okay.
Right,
Make it a condition of
and,
continuation.
you know, that you would,
They've expressed that they're.
Correct. It's in the record now, the minutes that were, yes.
and
Yeah,
you
that's
accept, the tolling agreement has to be signed before the 26th of April. So, but I think if you,
We'll be okay.
okay, that's the only thing, that's,
Yep.
Anyone like to make a motion?
I'll make the motion that we continue.
Before you do that,
yeah.
is there a consensus around the table about the tree?
That's right, yeah, I was gonna look at that, it's,
I mean, I'd love to hear everyone's perspective and,
Whether we should camouflage it or not,
yeah,
I vote no.
I mean,
Do you have the picture over there?
Yeah. Every time I've seen one of those on a mountaintop or something, they always look ridiculous.
I've seen them with more uneven branch structure coming out, but that looks just like one of those novelty cones.
That's not that old of a vintage, actually.
Oh, I understand,
I've seen
it's new, but it's,
Seen older, Amherst, New Hampshire, Walnut Hill is horrible.
there was the horrible
Canterbury SBA, exit 18093.
There was a horrible one on 93 headed towards Concord for the longest time. I don't know if it's still there, but it was horrible.
That might be Canterbury.
It
Yeah,
looked,
yeah.
it just looked offensive.
Yeah.
It made the tower more obvious.
I mean, Route
Yeah,
2,
that's my
I've seen the one
concern,
on Route 2 around Harvard area, Garden State Parkway.
It just becomes more to hide.
Yeah, it draws attention to itself.
Ones I've seen tend to fade into the picture over a couple of years.
Cell tower?
Yeah, something like this, like Route 2 had an ugly one, but you can't even see it now. Because everything's grown in around it.
So you'd prefer it be camouflaged?
Yes.
yeah,
Who wants to ask if people prefer real or fake Christmas trees? Because that's just what this picture is compelling me to think about, but I won't.
With my consensus, I don't think
Yeah, I would say at the most, I'm waving, if it looks like that, I don't like it. I'd like the ones that look more natural, that have uneven branches sticking out, but you don't think that's it?
Yeah, beauty is in the eyes of the beholder on that one. I don't, that's a fairly recent tree.
Right.
Yeah.
So I saw some head nodding in the public, and I'm wondering if this is an opportunity to reopen public comment and get some input about what you would prefer to see.
I think that would be a good idea, because
the
they're the ones
impact
most
is, right.
affected.
So if we do that, do you guys mind stepping back again? And we'll reopen for public comment.
Just a show of hands.
That's true, we could do a show of hands. That's a better idea. So if you would prefer the camouflaging, please indicate by a raising of the hand.
We don't want to see anything. What is several hundred feet? He explained it and said it twice, several hundred feet.
Public comment was open, that was the opportunity to voice your concern at that time.
I understand, but
So now we're looking at camouflaging or not camouflaging as a potential to weigh in on that. So I saw no hands for camouflaging, so is it safe to assume the preference would be?
You have a tower in your view where you live?
The preference would be for no camouflaging.
I would go camouflage.
You would go camouflage?
Yes. No. It's hideous either way, so if we could have, the least you guys can do is put some camouflage on it with the actual branches that you can stick us with this thing.
So, picture.
Yeah,
Well, that was terrible.
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna get the better one. This is what they're offering.
Well, they should give us the better one.
And your vote would be for no camouflage?
I don't need the bottle brush.
Also a bottle brush reference. All right, feel free to come back up. Thank you. So we've got a split decision there. It sounds like some conflicting opinions on the board. Do we want to try to come to a consensus or a majority on camouflage or not?
Yeah, I think given, I'll change it, given if it's that or nothing, I would go with the nothing, because I think.
You're not even gonna notice it after a while.
Well, I understand, I still do when I drive up 125, I see it.
But you're looking for it.
No, I mean, I noticed them, but not as much as when they ran the aerostat balloons up there for a while, but the,
Well, how often do you notice the one at Northland Forest Products, but off 125?
oh, I know, occasionally, but that's.
I hardly ever see that.
Yeah, I mean, but I'm lucky if I notice the traffic lights turn
Behind
on.
East Coast Long.
Yeah.
So yeah, my statement is that if we don't have a natural looking camouflage, I'd prefer no camouflage, because there's less to attract attention.
We just do a show of hands so we know.
All right, so all those in favor of camouflage? All those in favor of I don't want to say more natural looking.
No camouflage.
No camouflage. Okay. That is the consensus. No camouflage. All right, Lynn, I think you were going to start with the motion.
I was going to try.
I move that we continue this hearing to May 21st with plans due into the town by noon on May 9th, May 21st at 6:45 p.m. Plans due by May 9th at noon. In the hope that all of the issues discussed tonight will be completed, that we will have a consensus on the bond as well.
Is there a second?
I'll second that with the condition that tolling agreement for 30 days,
Yes, that brings us to
May 26th,
Yeah.
or May 25th, I guess,
yes,
26th.
30 days.
30 days. Be signed and in at the planning office before April 26th. Would you add that?
Friendly amendment is fine.
Okay.
So a motion by Lynn Merrill, second by Peter Coffin. All those in favor? Passed unanimously. And I will return to my seat and return the chair position back to Lynn.
Thank you very much.
But I would have laughed hysterically. I mean, I don't want that to happen, but that would have been the funniest thing I saw all day. Without a doubt.
Item number 4 on the agenda tonight are Planning Board Rules and Regulations, and we're discussing tonight Article 906, the Performance Guarantee Procedures, Section 4-A. The proposed language for bonding of road utility work, Section 907.4.A. Present language is as follows. The developer, owner, applicant must post a guarantee deemed acceptable by the planning board prior to the issuance of any permits for the site. No construction shall take place on the site until the performance guarantee has been approved by the planning board and accepted by the Board of Selectmen. The second line of this section is vague and may lead, let me do unquote. The second line of this section is vague and may lead one to believe that one cannot do roadway or utility work on site without the bond being in place, although that is not what the first line states. Reworking the section to read as follows will remove the ambiguity. So we want to change the language to A. The developer, owner, applicant must post a guarantee deemed acceptable by both the planning board and the Board of Selectmen prior to the issuance of any building permits for the site and prior to the sale of any parcel. Roadway and utility construction may begin without the establishment of the bond. End quote.
End quote.
End quote, and I think that covered it.
Okay, do we have a motion?
I'll move that we accept the language as amended to in second paragraph A.
Yeah, if you look at the bottom.
The bottom, yeah.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
It's done. Okay. Board business is continued. Do we have a motion to accept the March 19th, 2024 minutes?
So moved.
I'll second it.
Okay, we did a couple of just minor errors, minor typos and such, and those have been taken care of. So, any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Correspondence. So, we have a letter from Charlie Zilch, SEC surveying reference outdoor entertainment and site plan for Satellite. Hi Glenn, question for you. Bob from Satellite, CC'd on this email, has reached out to me regarding adding outdoor entertainment to the business. Thus far, he has been allowed by the selectmen to have outdoor entertainment consisting of acoustical music with a 10 p.m. curfew.
This is what he would like to have added to his allowed site plan uses. For large-scale events such as fundraisers where he would host a band with amplified music, he will still seek a special permit from the selectmen as he has been doing. Is this a simple letter and public notification for the planning board in order for the change of use to occur? Please let me know when you have a moment. Say it.
It's an amendment to the site plan.
He needs to do this. He comes before the select board to get approval for special events. We limited him to 10.
Yeah.
Last year, we only got 5 dates, and he went and did the other 5.
Without permission, you mean?
Yes, I believe so. I'm not sure on that, but it's never straight. We've said to him consistently that he needs to come to the planning board and update the site plan that includes outdoor music.
So, if memory serves me correctly, he attempted to do that and was denied.
Correct.
That is correct.
The understanding that he could seek special approval for
limited.
one-off instances.
Right.
But the sentiment of the board was pretty clear, I thought, that
Well,
there wasn't gonna be an approval to.
We also gave him the opportunity to demonstrate that it could be done within the town zoning ordinance. And even though he knew that it was during a test trial period, the sound equipment, they demonstrated repeatedly exceeded that sound limit. Yeah. And when he'd first come to us, we did offer to allow unamplified acoustic music outdoors, and Glenn remembers this well. And they specifically said that was not acceptable to them. And then they went ahead and had a summer of hell down there. Everybody in South Kingston and probably parts of Plastow.
And that was during COVID. You got to be a little bit fair to the guy. He was out of control during COVID, totally out of control.
Well, yeah, but
So the response here, though, is that this has to be done through a noticed site plan review hearing. Okay. There isn't a requirement for new plans.
Right.
What we're talking about is not a site, a ground plan issue. It's a use issue, but it still has to be done within the auspices of a site plan hearing. So it would have to.
A site plan amendment would need to update the site plan to show any new businesses on there.
I mean, because of the
cigar bar.
Because you have a cigar bar that hasn't ever been shown on a site plan. It's a brand new business.
You and I so
fundamentally
disagree about that. I understand what you're saying. So I'm comfortable telling him that this particular requirement that we're talking about here, not what Peter just mentioned, but this requirement requires that they come back before the planning board for an amended site plan, and that means notification of abutters and a description that they have to provide in a public hearing as to what they want to accomplish. That may indeed result in a new plan being put on the plan, a new note being put on the plan, in which case Charlie's firm would have to redraft that plan. Now, if you want me to emphasize that the town feels that the site plan itself should be updated to show the cigar enterprise, I'm happy to include that in this response. But I want that from the board.
I think we should do that, and I think we should also make it very clear to him that they haven't been complying with the existing rules and regulations.
I would need to check on that for sure, because I'm not, he originally had in for 5 dates.
Yep.
And we approved the 5 dates, because he couldn't go further, because he wanted some flexibility because of weather. He wanted loud music outside. The problem is the loud music. It's not the acoustic.
No.
That's not the problem.
Right,
And the pond is a problem with sound.
Well, the sound carries over to Morning Dove. Of course it does.
He's not in a nice forested woodland environment where trees and bushes help attenuate sound.
Like at
He's on
Camp
a
Lincoln,
flat,
for
hard
example.
surface
Yeah.
that just allows it to carry for miles.
Rob, were you here for those discussions? So, part of the issue was that people sitting across the pond were in their houses with their air conditioning on and all their windows closed, and they testified that they still couldn't watch the ball game on TV because they couldn't hear. The noise was so loud.
And that was true.
Testimony after testimony after testimony.
I can see that.
Yeah.
That was gonna be my question is, have there been complaints?
Oh, that's why they were here the first time.
A boatload. But this,
The summer of hell kind of answers.
yeah, and that was, it
Was
really
that well
was,
spoken?
yeah, it was cold.
You could
so.
hear it beyond Peter Coffin's house, you could hear it to Plastow.
But,
It was
but
really.
you can buffer some of that, and you can change the speakers, and he wasn't always kind. He's a great guy, but sometimes he just doesn't listen. You know what I'm saying? He ignores the rules.
So
The
I-
forgiveness principle rather than permission.
Why don't,
Neighbors only forgive for so long.
I know.
why don't we allow Ellie to check?
Let me check to see if there was
And
any
if
violation
he was
last
not in
year.
compliance last year, if there were any violations, then we need to tell him he was out of violation, he was in violation last year.
Okay, well, I wouldn't do this letter until Thursday, but
Right.
do you want me to hold off and not do it until Monday?
No, because I'll check with Susan. I'll figure it out.
Okay.
I'll figure it out, and I'll make a
I
couple
mean,
calls.
I mean, I'd be happy to do this on Thursday. It's not a huge thing if I don't do it until Monday.
No, but I don't like Groundhog Days, so we keep doing the same things over, so I like to
I hear
get things
ya.
done.
I hear you.
I
Thank
will
you.
make that call and
I
find out.
appreciate that.
Lynn, can I make a comment?
Yeah.
So one of the conditions of the site plan was to put fences along the edge of
Yeah.
this. And so whatever they put up there for 2x4s was not what I would call a fence, but it's all knocked down and it's plowing snow into the streams, and that's
Not
conservation
compliant.
concern. So that would probably need to be fixed and make a better fence in both north and the south parking lot.
Yep. So you can certainly say that they're out of compliance. with
I
the
will
current.
add that to the list.
So fence and snow removal?
Fencing, snow removal. Am I mentioning the cigar bar?
You may want to keep that as a separate, well, I don't know, maybe if it's coming in for a site plan amendment, you should, because it's gonna come up.
Cigar bar.
Did he put it in where the restaurant section, the pizza section was? Is that where this, no, is that where
The
the
cigar bar
was?
is,
About the pizza, I would.
it's
On the
in
second
its own
floor?
separate, no, it's in its
Oh,
own separate
on the
entrance.
second,
It's,
I don't get that. I do not even understand why. There's a lot going on in that building, and I think it would be a lot less, would be a lot better, but, you know. And then all I do is picture that, I mean, where was the band at the last time?
Yeah,
oh, yeah, and,
That's a
and off-
bowl. He's in the middle of a bowl. He not only has a pond, but he's got a bowl which, yeah.
yeah.
okay, we all in consensus of this?
All right, thank you.
Okay. The
One
next,
down. 15 to go.
not too bad. The next letter is from Junior Mello, reference 65 at 125 in the business inquiry. Hello, sir, madam. My name is Junior, and I am reaching out to check the possibility of starting a new business in Kingston, New Hampshire. Currently, we have an auto transport business registered in Lowell, Massachusetts, but with plans to expand our operations to encompass auto towing and repossession as well in Kingston, New Hampshire. We are thinking about leasing property located at 65 at 125, but we need to make sure it's a viable location to settle. Property owner is offering us the third building on the property, the blue building where the Atlantic Machinery sales used to be. That would be used as office space and unloading and part of the exterior land that we would need to fence and install cameras to properly and safely store, towed, and repossessed automobile vehicles with a capacity of around 20 to 40 vehicles. Currently, we do not have a registered business in New Hampshire, but will do so if the property in question turns out to be ideal to lease. Please feel free to reach back at your earliest convenience. You have his number, or via this email with any questions that may arise. Is this the
Trailer place.
trailer place?
Yeah.
Okay.
Trailer place, tractor place, it does not have any paving in the area that would,
Is it within 1,000 feet of another auto place?
well, that's an interesting point, because it's, it's not sales or leasing.
They do repossession.
Yeah, it's near a repossession place.
And then it's diagonally across the street from the Hunt Road and Route 125 with the automobile sale place there.
Yeah, definitely that one right across the intersection would be, but I don't know if this qualifies under that.
Car sales, we talked about car sales being close, is it include something?
I don't think so, because this is
I'm
an
just
impound
raising
lot.
it because of the issues we had before.
Yeah, well, this is an impound lot, and my point is, I think this would require site plan review, because you'd be talking about fencing in and making an impound lot with the lights and everything else, and they'd have to be compliant, because that's my residential
Drainage.
property.
But this is a different use. I think this is where the new zoning ordinance would come into effect for the planning board to make a call as to whether it's a similar use or not that requires a 1,000-foot buffer.
And
But it does, this would require a site plan, because it's a different use of that property.
Yeah,
and it does require the drainage for sure, pavement, the whole
Yeah.
thing.
and, yeah, you would have to have drainage plan, but the lot would have to become compliant first with the 50-foot residential buffers. It's buffers on two sides, well, on multiple properties, residential properties. And
So my response is that it appears the use could be permitted, but it's a full site plan review that's required, and that might run him off, because I'm sure he's not thinking about spending $5,000 to do a site plan.
could be.
One comment is that he's saying it's the third building. The third building is like way out in the back.
It's
a little
the
small.
second building, really.
It's the small
Well,
building.
no, I know, the first building is the hair salon, the old house.
Oh, okay, so he's talking about the big building.
Yeah, the big blue building, which is
Okay.
between the two back
Okay,
buildings.
so it is the one way out back.
The first one, there's the hair salon house, then there's a white building, metal building that is the trailer and welding place. Then the blue building, which apparently used to be machine sales, and then there's another storage building farther back.
Okay,
Okay,
I will get back to this one.
so we're in consensus that they have to go to a full site plan
Yes.
for change of use. Okay. The next letter is from Skyline Coatings. Good afternoon, Glenn. I stopped by earlier inquiring about allowance of work in the zoning area of the property. Please see below and attached information on our scope of business or work. Directly across the street is an auto body shop where we use the same type of equipment for operation. Almost identical, but more so on a smaller basis. Please see the following for scope of work: industrial spray painting, powder coating, pad printing, sandblasting and stripping parts, and assembly. And a future service would be clear film, which is a process of cleaning raw CNC machined parts that are aluminum, gets treated in water and soap, and it prepares the surface for a proper coating finish, or it can be left treated with just the clear film, which acts as a protective barrier. They have a list of equipment here.
And this is at Fieldstone. It's in one of the units.
This would be one of the units at Fieldstone.
And so I guess the question is why we're getting this is because it's not specifically permitted or prohibited in that zone. And so some of the considerations of the wetlands up there that are very close to the buildings, but they would obviously have to, there's got to be some kind of trapping system. Dennis would know about this if you're doing this kind of work with.
Isn't this just more industrial than we thought would happen in those condos?
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the things, they talked about flammable liquid storage cabinets of various sizes. And, but then they say to store the paint, alcohol, wash thinners. I guess my thought is any of this hazardous? And if during the washing cleaning process, what happens with the liquid.
Well, that's the trapping system that you'd have to have a very elaborate recovery and if the structures are already built, I don't know, Dennis, what do you think? You'd have to, I mean, this is the type of thing you need to build buildings specifically for that with drain systems that.
Well, he's talking about sandblasting and stripping parts. I mean, that's something that's a concern, but he's saying that they're gonna be in an indoor cabinet. And I knew there's a lot of painting and those type of odors that can transfer into other buildings, so it might be an impact to the other units there, but if they're spray painting, and that's highly flammable, can be highly flammable, so something to consider.
We considered those to be units for contractors and dry storage. This just seems like an industrial use in condos that we didn't think were gonna be used that way.
It does say industrial spray painting.
And that's in C3, not the industrial zone.
Correct, this is in C3.
Just confirming. But we do have automobile painting right across the street, which is also flammable and
We do.
odor. And
But that was done through a site plan on that specific lot.
yeah,
And these condos were not considered, at least they weren't proposed to be used that way. I suppose he could do a new site plan to propose this use?
For the whole property?
It would have to be, because if you want to, said that those condos can be used for industrial purposes.
If it gets approved in one of them, it's good for all of them.
That's true.
so they're condos. So we would be notifying the condo association. Has it been turned over to the association? Or is it still Mr. Wilder?
That I don't know. That I don't know.
Or whether, in fact, this person would be leasing from an owner, condo owner, which could still be Mr. Wilder or anybody
So
else.
at the very least, this can't be approved without a site plan. Because it is not, these are not the uses that were talked about. This is industrial. It is, these are industrial uses. And it's hazardous. And granted, there is a similar operation across the street, but that was done under a separate site review for that use. This use hasn't been approved at Fieldstone.
So presumably.
And again, I have a feeling this person is not interested in doing the outlay for a site plan as well as buying one of these condos, but I don't know. Maybe he has more money than God. I don't know.
These units that are side by side by side.
They are.
But each new one could impact anybody around. Across the street is totally different.
It is, I agree. So my response should be that this industrial use would require a new site plan review before it could go into this facility.
For the entire property.
Yeah. And presumably we have in C3, we have some kind of conditional use permit or, yeah, with criteria, and
Because
that
it's not
involves
permitted
toxic,
or-
yeah, well, it's,
Everybody in consensus as to that? Okay. Moving forward. We have two letters from David Schreier?
Flyer?
Schreier?
Schools,
Okay. Dear Town of Kingston, New Hampshire, I hope this letter finds you well. I'm writing to formally request permission on behalf of Golden Acres Campground, formerly Millbrook RV Park, to utilize a designated parking area located at the campground for the purpose of hosting seasonal food trucks. We are constantly seeking ways to enhance the local area and provide additional amenities for residents and visitors alike. We believe that introducing seasonal food trucks to the town's public spaces could significantly contribute to the vibrancy and appeal of Kingston. Food trucks can provide a sense of engagement amongst the community by bringing people together, which helps to foster a sense of community. By operating these food trucks, we can create opportunities for the Kingston community as well as the surrounding communities to connect and socialize. This will also allow for positive economic growth by attracting visitors who may otherwise not have ventured into Kingston. This could lead to increased foot traffic for businesses in the surrounding area and provide additional revenue for the town. We do have restroom facilities to accommodate any of our customers. We also have ample seating for customers to enjoy their food. Both are located in our campground pavilion. We have been assured by Proline Development that our leach field is more than adequate for us to provide restrooms. We are willing to work closely with the town to develop a comprehensive plan that ensures the smooth operation of the food truck program while minimizing any potential disruptions. Our belief is that allowing seasonal food trucks in designated parking areas would be a positive addition to the Kingston community. We are eager to collaborate with the town to make this vision a reality and contribute to the continued growth and vitality of our town. Thank you for considering our request. We look forward to the opportunity to discuss this matter further and work together to bring this exciting initiative to the town of Kingston. So before we discuss that, let's move on to the second letter. Dear Town of Kingston, I am writing to discuss a proposed change regarding the location of the approved propane filling station at the Golden Acres Campground, formerly Millbrook RV Park. I believe that relocating the propane filling station to the opposite side, adjacent to the parking lot, would be a safer and more beneficial option for all parties involved. The new location will be away from the New Hampshire 125 roadway and the proposed area of the parking area where the food trucks will be. This will improve the appearance of the roadway as well as allow us to service our customers in a more accessible manner. Thank you for considering this proposal. I am available to discuss this matter further and provide any additional information or assistance as needed. Your cooperation and support, Mr. Douglas, are greatly appreciated.
Sounds like an amended site plan.
The propane filling thing is, we approved that 3 summers ago.
With much discussion on where it should be located.
Well, we had they did an expedited site review, showed us a plan. What they're proposing is on that expedited site plan, they put it in the southwest corner, and they'd prefer, in that same area that shows on that plan, to move it to the northwest corner. So, no change in use, it's still the same facility, just it pulls it away from where it is now and puts it in a different location.
But there was a specific reason for it to be where it is. I remember them talking about that at the time.
It worked best for how they had their sales, is what I remember them saying.
Yeah, I think they could monitor it well from their office.
Yeah,
and where it would be fenced around, and they could monitor people going in and filling it, so it wouldn't be, something out of sight, out of mind. My concern with the north end of the parking lot is it's very close to a residential wooden house, and that would that might be.
You don't by any chance have the file.
For this,
I didn't ask you to.
I didn't think of it.
And is it safe to assume they wouldn't be eligible for an expedited site plan review for
the food
fees because they've exhausted they could do one, right?
Oh,
As an
yeah.
expedited.
Which they've done.
Well, this isn't new. This is, just from my perspective, they're asking to move this about 100 feet from its approved location. They're not asking for anything new. They're just asking to shift it from where it was approved to a place that's very close by, but is in a different location.
The reason I bring this up is because the first one, food trucks, is a permitted use in C3, put that in a couple of years ago, and since it's a new use, it would, as we've done with the other food truck things, it would require a site plan review. And if you're going to do a site plan review,
well, we told when we talked about this a month ago, the board said make clear whether or not it's proposed year-round or just seasonal.
Seasonal,
and if it was seasonal, they had a space available. You folks said they could do that, but if they were going to do it year-round, it was going to be something that required a new site review.
Well, it sounds to me like there's going to be more than one food truck.
Yeah.
That they're looking to have like a food truck grouping with people, I think we need to know what they're doing, how they're doing it, how much additional activity do they expect, how many additional people, do they have enough parking for it? They use the pavilion right now for the campground. Can the pavilion cover the campground and this additional use of people coming
I
in
don't
off
think
the
there's any
street?
question about that.
We were very firm before that they had to come for a full site plan because at the time they were talking about maybe doing some sort of a little variety store or something just to serve the people of the campground. We talked to them about if they were going to open that to the public, then they would have to come back to us because that would require a whole nother look at it. Right now, they seem to be filling the whole area near the river.
Yeah, that's separate.
I asked them about that, and they said that they actually have cleared things out of that area, but they have done no fill.
Well, there's big boulders.
Oh, huge boulders there, brand new boulders.
Yeah, they've definitely, they've made it accessible to drive equipment around and onto that, what we used to call an island, but was connected by a thin mud.
So
they're right on the river.
So from the food truck
They're in
perspective,
the Wetlands Conservation District, and
from the food truck perspective, if they're doing more than one food truck, then it has to be part of a new site plan review.
Yeah, well, this started out with a letter saying, a food store, and then that's why, we were talking about that, wow, that sounds like an accessory use to the campground, and they said, well, opening it up, and then this letter is the first one that mentions
They've always wanted to reinstitute the store, and that's been an issue, because apparently there wasn't a store there for a couple of years.
Right.
But had historically always had a store.
And store would be accessory.
But a seasonal food trucks tells me that they're gonna have food trucks there 24/7.
Yep.
Well,
And we have an ordinance that limits the time on food trucks.
well, that's the question is, are the trucks, and this is also, there's a state regulation on
We only have them as a permitted use.
permitted use.
We don't give any additional standards for the food truck.
No, that's all in the state regulations as far as the food service preparation. There's different septic requirements. If you're doing the food prep on site, are the trucks gonna empty their stuff
intending that they would
into their
empty
septic system?
into
Or are they
the
going?
septic system.
Yeah, are they gonna stay there,
they
how
coming
many?
in, going
Yeah,
out?
and there's a lot
Well,
of
how about
questions.
then, I think that they should come to us in a public forum with more information,
Right.
okay? That's what I'm gonna tell them.
Sounds great.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many questions.
But are you saying that you want to see a new public process for changing the location of the propane?
Well, is it a change to the
Station?
site plan?
Well, it would be because of the,
It is a change, it's moving from one location to another.
And our rules are, you can have one amendment, but not two?
No, our rules are you can do it 2 times.
2 times, so this would be their second time.
This would be their second time,
I think they have to come in and let us know what they're doing, it'd be an amended, do a quick amendment.
doing an expedited.
But if, let's say we don't approve the food trucks, they may not need to move the
That's right.
propane tanks. So we've got to, do you see what I'm saying? They may want to move the tanks because of where the trucks are going to be located. And not,
Is there
not
any
because,
interest in the town allowing me to say that they could come and talk with us at the first meeting in May and not the second hearing?
Sure.
a less formal situation, yes.
Do we need to notify the abutters?
I don't think at this phase, I don't think so.
I mean, they're talking about operating food trucks. Everything was trucks, and the whole sense of community. It appears to me like they wanted to do something like they do up in, what is it, Berwick? Where they have a whole,
Oh, at Cogden's?
yeah,
Wells.
yeah. And then the place in Durham now, where they just have all these food trucks, and they bring in thousands of people. So I think we need to.
Yeah, I think the parking issue, every food truck you bring in, you're taking away a couple of parking places. And, I quite frankly, I think.
They're proposing that each food truck would take 1 parking space. one site.
One
site
one
space.
camper site place,
So they're gonna put them down with the campers and not
Nope,
up?
up there, up front.
up in the
But there
front.
are no site spaces up front.
There's one, I think. I think that was what the original letter said, there was
The
one
original
site.
letter has one, and
One,
I'm not sure when they're saying food trucks, if they don't intend that they will.
Rotate them through.
Exactly, that
Right.
they will have more, they would have more than one vendor, but only one at a time.
Why don't we let them come in and tell us what
Yeah.
they're?
Yeah, I think there are way too many questions.
So,
Yeah.
and I'm perfectly happy, is the board okay with me offering the
Yeah.
first meeting in May instead of
Yes.
the public hearing?
Yeah, because it's not coming in for a site plan review. We're
Correct.
deciding whether, in fact, their proposal
Requires.
rises to that level, and
Perfect.
and that's where I'd say this is a
I'm wickedly
proposed use.
excited to get that word to them.
Yeah, I think that makes a perfect sense.
So the next question comes, all this rocks that I noticed when I drove by, I don't know.
I
This
think
morning.
I think we talked with them about that as well.
I
on
think,
May 6th.
I wanna
Yeah.
know, did they get any permits to do anything that close to the water? And what's
They have,
happening?
they
No,
have secured no permits, I am sure.
And drainage and all of that, should we be sending code enforcement down to take a look at that?
Let's talk with them first.
Okay,
Let's talk with them first.
they just,
Well, in the meantime, Conservation has already noticed that, and, they may
Have
be
they
going to.
reached out to the property owner at all, do you know?
I don't know, and Abby sent an email out to some people and just said, what's going on here? It was about another property, then she also said, what's going on there too,
Well, then I'm gonna make Conservation aware of the meeting on the first Tuesday in May.
absolutely, and I've also heard through the grapevine that they intended to put more sites on the island that floods.
That, they're working on a site plan review
Okay.
application. And that is one of the things they're proposing.
On that island that floods every year.
Which is why they're bringing.
That's why they're proposing tents.
Well played.
There's less damage to a floating tent than a floating RV.
Okay,
Okay, thank you for allowing me to offer the first meeting in May. That will be helpful.
way to go. So in other business that may come legally before the board, I wanted to let you know of something that happened yesterday. The Supreme Court of the United States ruled in favor of owners of property in a fee dispute. Fee dispute. The U.S. Supreme Court ruled unanimously on Friday that the government cannot demand hefty development fees from property owners in exchange for building permits. The Supreme Court's ruling stems from a 2016 lawsuit filed by a California landowner, George Sheets, after laws through his county government required him to pay more than $23,000 for a traffic impact fee study while he tried to obtain a permit to build an 1,800 square foot manufactured home on his property. The county fees were implemented to help pay for roadwork and infrastructure in the community. Sheets and his attorneys held the fees unconstitutional, specifically saying they violate the takings clause of the Fifth Amendment, which bars the government from taking private property for public use without just compensation. After the lower court sided with the county, Sheets and his attorneys asked the U.S. Supreme Court to weigh in. Quote, impact fees have real consequences for homeownership in America, particularly with today's high interest rates and limited housing affordability. Nationally, they said the average impact fee on a single-family home exceeded $13,627 in 2019, while the costs in some states stretched much higher. In California, for example, impact fees average more than $37,000. Also, the housing groups cited housing studies showing how a $1,000 increase in the median price of a new home pushes about 140,000 households out of the real estate market. The court's decision will now allow developers and home builders to challenge fees that are commonly imposed by cities and counties to pay for new public improvements and infrastructure. Justice Amy Coney Barrett wrote, in sum, there is no basis for affording property rights less protection in the hands of legislators than administrators. The takings clause applies equally to both, which means that it prohibits legislatures and agencies alike from imposing unconstitutional conditions on land use permits. The case will now be sent back. And then they actually further on discovered that these are cited, that the fees they're talking about, they actually termed impact fees. So it looks like there's something going on with the US Supreme Court that may be changing impact fees. And I just thought maybe we should just be aware of that.
Be aware of that, and
I'm sure the Municipal Association will be in touch, because it will certainly affect things in the state, but that just happened yesterday. I'm sure it hasn't filtered down yet, but if impact fees go away, that's going to cause some changes.
I'm one of the few planners around here that doesn't like impact fees.
Well,
So I'm not crying on this one.
I don't like impact fees either. It is what it is.
Although 3 of my 4 communities have them, I am not a supporter.
But I did want to just make you aware in the back of your head, and I also sent around an article about Brookline, New Hampshire, and how they lost the suit in the townspeople.
Yeah,
I think
what was yeah, no, we got it.
Yep.
What was the case that they had a $610,000 settlement that they decided to mediate, but that was because the town.
The town planning board said, for reasons that obviously had nothing to do with the property, that it was going to bring in children from poorer areas.
That's right, yeah. That was pretty outrageous.
That this housing development that they were going to do.
It wasn't fact-based.
Was not fact-based, but it was going to bring in too much housing too fast and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, I know, the town, in response to this, initiated a moratorium on building.
Yeah.
That was the problem.
That was
You just can't react to the fact that you don't want housing in
No, you have
by creating, that was what they got in trouble for, that's what they lost for.
Yeah.
They put a moratorium on building new houses.
You can't do that
Yes.
without having triggers.
You probably don't need a judge to tell you that.
That are substantial like that since 92 or so.
Yeah.
It's been a very long.
So they went to design review, and then they put a moratorium on it.
Wow.
So that was one of
That's
it.
bold.
The stuff that they quoted was stupid.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Ignorant.
But they really, I guess the point of doing that and sending that article around to everyone was just to be aware that with the housing shortage and the need for housing, everything's being watched more closely.
Right.
Very much so,
You
yeah.
should never be lawless. And it sounds like they were being lawless.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I would honestly, it is my job to not let you be lawless. I mean, it really is one of the reasons you picked me.
Yeah. That's why we rely on you a lot.
So, I mean, I would hope that we would be seen in court not to be lawless.
Yeah.
But there are lots of examples of boards that do act lawlessly, and they should be slapped.
Mhm.
They should be slapped.
But certainly, the town of Kingston has a history of following the rules and
do.
regulations. And winning
They
in
do.
court because we do. So, but I just wanted, again, to make you just aware of what's kind of going on out there. People are being kind of crazy. And sometimes when you have other communities that are being lawless, there's a little bit more scrutiny on those that aren't.
So Glenn, out of the four communities you have, who does pay?
Kensington has no impact fees, the town where I live. But Newfields, Brentwood, and Kingston all assess impact fees.
Yeah, and also, I noticed when researching this, the RNOs from the FCC on the cell tower application, one of the things that they've determined is that towns that put in costs associated with applications, it has to be based on what it actually costs to do something. You can't put these outrageous fees to try to discourage people from putting in cell towers and making a profit off of the applications. So that can be unnecessarily burdensome. Those have gotten overturned when towns have tried to cut, or cities have tried to charge too much for beyond what it costs the town to actually process the application fees. What's that?
Whereas greedy.
Greed, yeah, okay.
I would think that we want to kind of be conscious of all that, any impact that we have, make them reasonable.
Anytime we ever look at our fees, because we change them so infrequently, we are always shortchanging ourselves.
Yeah, but I mean, there's gotta be a true cost associated with it.
There is, and that's what we have, we
Exactly.
hired these people to do, is look at them and to assess, well, what is the cost per this, that, for the other thing? And so they have those tables, and we only charge the fees based on the theoretical cost. The other significant factor is that if we don't use the fees on capital improvements, they have to go back to.
They're not used within 5 years.
5 years, I think, yeah.
Returned.
They have to be returned. So it's not a unauthorized taking as much as it is if you couldn't prove that there was a cost associated with.
Well, the other thing is, our impact fees haven't been looked at in a very long time. We had discussed looking at them, one of the big.
Well, no, Bruce Mayberry did an update.
Oh, did he have to do an update?
We did it since I've been on the board.
Yeah, in like 2017, I think.
Okay,
Yeah.
So it's not that, I mean,
Not that
it's a
old.
long time, 7 years, but it's not that
okay.
long. Because we've had impact fees since.
But the other problem is,
About
it's like,
2007, I think.
nobody around that does that anymore.
That's the biggest thing.
That's the scary thing. I haven't found somebody who has taken Bruce's place.
Yeah, and you look on PlanLink, and that's one of the hot topics, that planners all over the state are looking for somebody who can do that.
Because he did it for everyone.
Besides that, we had the 55 roller the other day, and the general feeling on that is it costs less.
But it doesn't.
But
Not even close to it.
I mean, you always see the cost, but you never see the benefit. And of course, I have many children, so, you know, I look at it from my perspective of how much we put into the town and how much we spend and how much, you know what I mean? And I've never seen that in a report where, oh, the fireman's not gonna go out as much, all right, but, I mean, I don't know, I spend $600 a week in groceries, and that's gotta come into the economy at some point, and that's a benefit to me. And when you look at these cost, benefits, impact fees, I find them to be very arbitrary, and you can twist that and put it into a different perspective. I do not like them, even a little. I call them, no offense, but I call them the Stonewall fee. I mean, that's.
Well, the thing that bothers me is what they were always talking about was children in the schools, children in the schools, children in the schools.
And right
when
now,
in
we've
reality,
done-
since the mid-1990s, the average has been, for every 4 homes that are sold, according to Rockingham County, you only get 1 child. So if you build 50 houses, you get 12 or 13 children, aged 0 to 21, which are fairly easily absorbed in the school system, but for that same 50 homes, if they're paying $7,000 in taxes, you're getting $350,000 a year more money in. So,
Well, also, there was.
you know, just saying that there's a.
Rockingham County
both
had
sides.
a significant spike about the time when we needed to build the new high school. And then when we build that with the option for an addendum that would go onto it, all of a sudden, you know, it sort of leveled off, and then it's been on the down slope as far as number of children in the district and.
Statewide, that's not just in Rockingham County.
it's not.
Statewide.
Oh, yeah, it is. But
The New Hampshire as a state is aging. The average age is well over 55, 60 years old.
We are the second oldest
second to
state
Maine, yeah.
in the US,
Yeah.
second to Maine.
But housing 55 plus really have a big impact on the fire department.
See what you were saying earlier, Stuart. We're all
And
McDonald's, there's
police,
gonna be no one on the planet.
because they go to every conference.
Why worry?
I'd like to think that I'm gonna be here a little bit longer.
When I said that, I was like, oh, I should really make that addendum. She is young compared to the rest of the cohort that are here, sitting around the table.
Yeah, speak for yourselves.
Right, the growth rate is 2.5, and if you don't have 2.5 in any metric, 2.5 kids, if you don't have it, you're gonna have an aging population, and of course, there's one alternative to that, immigration.
And the other problem, immigration is one.
I'm not opposed to, but, you know, it's
Legal immigration.
legal immigration, but what's happening now is a planned imbalance, in my opinion.
Well, the other problem is because of the zoning that was done throughout the state, and the fear of more children, and the 5 acres and 10 acre zoning and all of that, has greatly reduced the opportunities for younger people to move into the state.
Can't afford to move.
They can't afford to move in. So if they can't afford to move in, then by default, the state's going to age. And cluster developments and special things were done for people aged over 55, but were not done similarly for younger people. So they can't afford to move in. And until they can afford to move in, even if they're immigrants, if they can't afford to live here, then we're not going to have anybody to take care of us in our old age.
You should see what they're doing with zoning. Somerville was down there the other day. Wow.
This is the town of Somerville?
So, you put 15 units on 500 square feet. I mean, it's crazy what ADUs, they've opened the floodgates on those things in many towns. It's, yeah.
I just saw a thing today about like dorm style housing, so I'm curious to see if that takes off.
Well,
the state's proposing that that every single family lot can have 3 ADUs.
Yes, I have 280. I have the main unit and 2 ADUs. One can be attached. One must be attached. One must be affordable housing with affordable housing documents to remain, so it remains affordable housing.
It's ridiculous.
affordable housing means one thing, okay? That means that you let someone with a $2,700 voucher live there. That's what affordable housing, the new definition of affordable housing. Because it's not affordable, it just means that the government is going to have someone with a voucher living in that unit. Because that's the smart growth, which is now renamed MBTA friendly zone. It's affordable, but it's the rent, it's $2,700 for a 2-bedroom, $3,700 for a 3-bedroom, okay? That's what's the plan, that is the plan. And they call it affordable, but that is not affordable, so whenever you see these affordable, read the fine print.
But the other, well, the affordable ones that were built in Exeter really have, young people and starting out and workers, regular workers and that sort of thing that basically are kids. They can't afford to live anywhere else.
The only thing I've ever seen that creates affordable housing is growth, is building.
Yeah.
Because how they're defining affordable is not affordable for anybody that lives in your town. And there is a voucher plan set up that have now made these things portable, where the city of Boston can rent an affordable unit in Kingston, New Hampshire for $2,700. But what does that do to someone that lives in Kingston looking for an apartment? That's now their competition. You're competing with the federal government for that affordable unit. And their voucher is $2,700 for a 2-bedroom. So you need to afford $2,700 if you want.
Well,
And we're seeing 400 square foot apartments here in Kingston, renting for between $1,200 and $1,800 a month.
400?
Yeah.
100 square feet.
That's the vouchers.
No,
It
no,
doesn't
what?
have anything to do with vouchers.
No,
It
that
has
doesn't.
nothing to do with vouchers at all.
Nothing to do with it.
That is driving the price. If
No.
I have a
What's
2-bedroom,
driving the price in New Hampshire is the land cost. It's the land cost.
Land cost and availability.
That's what's doing it.
you have to factor in that competition.
Broad-based tax is what it's called. No broad-based tax. That means, that's why the land is such a high value. That's how we generate revenue, is our land. It's not through sales and it's not through income.
Well, this brings up an interesting thing, is that New Hampshire does have a definition of affordable housing, and it's a formula. One of the things that we did when we created this multifamily housing capability in the commercial zone is that we said it was to comply with the New Hampshire regulations on affordable housing, and yet we put a cap that says no more than 50% of the units can be affordable housing. And we may want to look at that as part of one of our workday type of things, is whether we want to maybe incentivize some more affordable housing by taking that restriction out of there. Obviously, the project that we're looking at now, they don't want to try to comply with the affordable housing
We're not
law.
looking at it. They may not be with us anymore.
Wow.
Haven't heard a thing.
I thought they were going to go and come back with some more ideas, because that's what they said they were going to do. But
Haven't heard a thing.
We're encouraging them.
So, one of the things that we might want to talk about, and I think we need to make a list of these for our, probably our May meeting, is right now, obviously, the issue became duplex units versus triplex units in that particular thing, in that particular development. But when we talked about defining multifamily as 3 units or more, what we didn't consider was the fact that multifamily can be clusters with 2 units in a building. I mean, they're all over the place. They're in Brentwood, they're in East Kingston, I mean, they're all over the place where you've got just 2 units. And what we might want to do is say that for multifamily condo kind of projects, that maybe we could do, 2 units, change our zoning. It would be a zoning change to be voted in March, but maybe we can consider in a big project like that, 2 units would be okay, because certainly when you look at that project and what it looks like, the 2-unit homes around the common that they had, and in some of the little neighborhoods, made it far more Kingston neighborhood friendly than the multifamily 3 stories. And while that's there as part of the plan, the other made it look a little bit more like what we're accustomed to. So even though we might keep the definition at 3 units, we might make an exception somehow in our zoning ordinances to allow for 2 units within a condo project or within a multifamily project. Just throwing it up.
We have that now. We have that on Rutgers. There's four
right.
apartments, and then there's other cluster houses there.
Right.
That's a single family.
That's our innovative zone.
But that innovative zone feature that allowed that quadplex was removed from our ordinance. It doesn't exist anymore.
But I thought there was still some property that he has the ability to build 2 more of those units.
I don't believe so.
I didn't think so, but we can check into it. But certainly, just thinking, a big project like that, it certainly was prettier and more like Kingston with the 2 units. So maybe there's a way that we could look at adjusting our ordinance for that, if you all like the idea.
Yeah, that's definitely something to look at.
From a state perspective, they don't consider anything multifamily if it doesn't have 5 units.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I was going to bring up. That's the affordable housing definition.
Just to dig down on the affordable housing, okay? There's a fine line between rent control and affordable housing. Now, if everything I've seen for affordable housing means that you have to be at a certain income. But I'm sorry, it's a voucher that's renting the apartment. I am 42% of medium income or whatever. I am poor. Okay, you can live there. Well, that's great. But you're not paying the rent. The federal government's paying.
So maybe we're not talking affordable, but we're really talking about
I have yet to see anything affordable that is truly affordable come on the market anywhere in any town. I mean, Raymond, New Hampshire, Epic Studio, $2,400.
In Epping?
Yes.
Epic.
Yes.
But again, I hate to disagree with you. They're now competing with the federal government, and those vouchers they're handing out like candy, and they're showing up everywhere. Every migrant's getting one.
Not in any of my communities have I seen a voucher program by the federal government.
Your community doesn't have the voucher program. The city of Boston has the voucher program. The city of Chicago has.
The city of Boston
is renting apartments in New Hampshire.
I don't understand how you're making the connection between a voucher program in Boston impacting.
The city of Boston has changed their voucher program, and you can go on to the Boston Housing Development website and look at what they're paying in the outside communities, okay? The city of Boston, those vouchers are now portable. If you have a voucher in 8th Street in Chicago, you can have Chicago, the city of Chicago, rent you that apartment in Manchester, New Hampshire. That's what, they're portable now. It's a portable federal voucher, and it's destroying every local economy with rents. Because your choice is.
Have you ever heard that?
No, I mean,
You're in
New
the real
Hampshire.
estate business in New Hampshire. Have you ever heard of somebody using a Boston voucher for property in New Hampshire. I've never heard of it.
No, I mean, Section 8,
Right.
which is affordable housing here.
It's not called Section 8 anymore, it's now called Federal Housing Voucher.
Well, they're not getting that in New Hampshire.
You
It's certainly
can't
not
get it
from
in New
Boston.
Hampshire. If you're in the town of Kingston, and you go down to the welfare office and apply for a voucher, you're on a 10-year waiting list. If you're a migrant that comes into the city of Boston, you do 30 days in the hotel, you then get a voucher to go live anywhere in the country you want with a Boston voucher. And it's not the city of Boston is paying, it's the federal government's giving the city of Boston to pay. It's on their website, you can look what they're paying in the outside towns. And that is where affordable is. And again, have you ever seen an apartment for rent for $800 because it's affordable? Never in my life.
And
You
wouldn't
can't
that-
show me.
And wouldn't that depend on the landlord, because if he's getting.
Yes, I mean,
If he's getting a Section 8 voucher.
The
he
Boston,
doesn't care.
I can't say anything about the Boston market because I don't deal with the Boston market.
Right.
I deal with New Hampshire. In New Hampshire, the reason for the high cost of housing is not a voucher program in Boston.
Right.
It's land costs in New Hampshire. And the land costs are driven by the fact that the only way we make money in the state of New Hampshire is through property tax. That is the zero way.
That's how we fund our local governments.
Have you been
That
to
is how
Nashua?
that is how it happens.
Have you been to Nashua lately?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You see those apartments,
Have you been to Exeter lately and seen those apartments?
different apartment. The ones in Nashua, you're getting 1,500 units on the river. And it's not for people who live in Nashua. They're affordable housing that is getting vouchers rented the apartments.
We should look into that.
We should
That's-
look into that. That's a call to
I
Nashua
hear what
Housing.
You're saying that it's not us, programs are not being created here in New Hampshire, they're being expended here in New Hampshire.
Correct. And the focus is to take the city and move it to the suburbs.
Right.
And we're not gonna let you in Kingston have a voucher. We're gonna give them to the city of Boston and let the city of Boston rent them out. We're gonna give them to the city of Manchester, let the city of
So
Manchester.
how long do they have a voucher? I mean,
My sister was on Section 8 for 32 years.
oh yeah, but I'm talking about,
Section 8 is a completely
the migrants come
different
in,
program.
Section 8 does not exist.
They changed
It's
the name.
It's
called
just the same
Federal
thing.
Housing Voucher System.
Changed the name. It sounds
And
pretty.
Section 8 used to be a 10%, and every town had it, that you get 10% Section 8 because the town can mitigate that or out of that with 10%. That is now being blown up.
But every town in New Hampshire never had Section 8. Section 8 has not been a legitimate housing opportunity in more than 15 towns, in the state, 15 cities in the state.
Yeah, but it's changed.
But that's
because-
changed because
yeah.
developers are also they're getting better rates from banks when they have a certain percentage of the housing units. Shinburg's gonna do that,
Shinburg's already doing it in Haverhill.
right, and he's doing, I think, in Exeter as well.
Mm-hmm.
And again,
and in Dover.
to your point, and this is the residual problem that it's creating is, I'm a landlord. Do I want you to rent my apartment $800 because that's what you can afford? Or do I want to call it affordable and let the city of Manchester send in a $2,700 voucher? I guarantee you I can pull that same list that I pulled out of Boston out of Manchester because this is the way they have this set up. They don't care, they're getting their money. Bingo. But they're getting 3 times the money. Thus, an apartment in Raymond, New Hampshire is gonna cost you $2,400 for a 2-bedroom, and they call it affordable. And this is the part that I do not like.
Which we gotta be careful about, because if we're building 4 units or 6 units or something like that, and those builders basically say, well, I'm gonna get into a federal government program.
Well, they're all market rate, and they're gonna be condos,
I mean,
not apartments.
the only thing that saves a city or town at this moment in time in New Hampshire is you don't have the water and sewer infrastructure to handle those large apartments. That's it. And my advice to any city or town, it's kind of one of the reasons I'm sitting at this table is, I don't want water and sewer ever in this town. I want any affordable, any growth, anything based on exactly what our aquifer and waste can handle, and that's it. Because you put water and sewer, you're gonna be happy, you're gonna see apartments right up 125 because they got water and sewer, and they're gonna blow that whole system up. And they took the money for the smart growth. Change the whole character of the town.
They will.
Yeah. But as soon as you take the money for the federal grant, as soon as you take the federal grant, they now have a 40R program in your town, and they can overrule your zone. That's the deal with you. Sign the line for the parking, they sign the line for the parking, sign the line for the train station, sign the line for the train station. Gonna do infrastructure. Mass now, they can rename the smart growth MBTA friendly. Amesbury's getting 1,600 units of Burger King. Newburyport's getting 2,000 units on the train tracks. Okay, and
Be condensed down there as it is.
Yeah.
the whole thing through the smart growth and the MBTA friendly is the parking on it was 0.7. So you're 0.7 on your parking. In other words, you get 0.7 parking spot because smart growth, MBTA friendly theory and is if you don't have a parking spot, you won't buy a car.
One of the bills that went over crossover, I don't remember, I think it's a House bill that ended up in the Senate, I don't think it was vice versa, but is going to take no community can require more than one parking spot per unit. So, particularly for the new ADU thing and all of that. So it's, if you can have your regular stuff for the ADU, you still have to have your regular parking spots for the house, and then you couldn't have more than one for the ADU. And then they're also talking about no more than one on other new complexes that are coming forward. So that's an interesting, you can have more, you just can't require more.
But
So,
if you can't require it, you're so less likely to get more. If the requirement is one, folks are not gonna build two. They're gonna build one.
and let's face it, almost every household that has
Has
more than one
two.
person has two cars.
If not more.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I wish there was an easy way to do affordable housing, but right now, at this point in time, it doesn't mean what they say. And it's destroying small. I mean, then, what are apartments going for now?
In New Hampshire, I think gosh, what was the average last week, Robin? Was it,
It's over 2,000, I bet.
I think it's 20, I think it could be more. Yeah, it's a lot.
It's insane.
And kids are staying at home because they can't afford to go anywhere else.
I see the overflow every day. It's bursting. It's getting ready to burst. Rates are 8%. Well, they're down to 6 now, but they were 8 for about a year and a half. And no one could buy it. It's stuck at home. It's bursting at the seams.
And now they're
building those apartment buildings left and right, and they call them affordable. And no one I know can afford them.
They came down to 6, but it's looking like they're going back up to 7.
I say 5.
When you say they're down to 6, but going up to 7, what?
Well, interest rates right now for a house are in the 6s.
I see, I realize you were talking about interest rates.
Yeah, interest rates in the
I thought you
houses
were talking about
are going to, are in the 6s. But today's newspapers and reports all said that because the feds are not going to reduce the rate, that it looks like rates are going to start increasing again, and that they're going to approach 7s. And 7s,
Someone's making a lot of money somewhere.
The banks are making
If the
incredible
rates are
money.
7, you can't buy a house, but guess who can?
The banks are making incredible money.
the banks are making good money, the grocery stores are making great
Wall
money.
Street is buying everything they get.
I don't understand that. I do not understand the inflation attached to food. What
Well,
the
didn't
hell
they
is-
just say that Kroger's was getting, just had profits at 47% over last year, and that Publix was
Not a,
like 39 or something?
not a big fan of their statistics because they drive other things. Crude is for one reason only. It's gonna be $8 a gallon, so you drive an electric car. That's the focus. We're gonna make you drive an electric car. If you wanna see a trend on crude, or you wanna see a trend on food, look at Europe, they're 5 years ahead of us. That's exactly what they wanna do here, and that's exactly the way they're going to do it. We're gonna drive it up. They've been saying it for years. How are we gonna get you into an electric car? I mean, we're gonna make driving a car too expensive. And you look at what they're doing in the cities with infrastructure.
But what does that have to do with food prices?
Food?
Food prices have we all understood when there were supply issues. We got that. The entire country understood that that was driving the prices. Those supply issues don't exist anymore. But the prices have stayed high.
How the hell has that happened? What's driving Canada, what's driving Europe right now with food prices? Why? Green New Deal.
Yeah.
Because it affects the
Because
car, it affects the lights,
gasoline.
it affects the building, it affects this, and this is a 30% tax you've just put on every one
Gasoline prices haven't increased.
Diesel has.
Gasoline hasn't.
I feel like we've fallen outside of our scope here.
Yeah, I was
gonna say that.
Well, I would like to catch.
Oh, okay. And we do have board business. But we do have board business that we need to.
Okay, wait a minute, we have one more item of board business.
No, but we do need to do officer elections.
Oh, yeah, we need to do officer elections.
What's that?
Sure.
Yeah, we're already a little late on that.
Okay, so let's open elections. Thanks, Dennis, have a good evening. Yeah, we have to
Yeah.
do elections. Okay, so nominations for chair.
Are you still willing to do it? Are you time? Okay.
I nominate Linnell.
Okay, I'll second it.
Any other nominees? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, vice chair, do you have any nominations?
Robin, are you still willing to do it?
I am.
Good, I nominate Robin.
Any other nominations? Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Do you have to do
I'll
anything else?
abstain. Do you abstain from your own?
Appointment, do you have to do any appointments?
Oh, I was told the TAC letter that came in a couple months ago, that they're still waiting, they were late on it, this is the Rockingham Planning Commission.
Oh, yeah.
And it's that does it, but the Transportation Advisory Council, I've been doing that. It meets noon on Thursdays, the third Thursday of the month. If you're
Do you
interested,
still want to do that?
I'm fine with doing it. Yeah, I mean, I'm knee deep into it right now. We're doing all the priorities. You're going to see them. They'll come right over to you guys when we get the transportation projects priorities. But it's just grind work.
I will nominate Peter to sit on the
TAC.
TAC, yeah.
Do we have a second? Any further discussion? Any other nominees? All those in favor? We all set on nominations to planning? Okay, planning, we all set on the term.
You're still, I think you have
Still
3
on.
years.
I'm still within, and I think Glenn's still within. too.
Glenn is both, yeah, we just.
I didn't know.
That
I just
happened last
checking to
year,
make
I
sure the
think.
terms- And we need somebody for the CIP.
Yes, Rob, you still willing to do that?
Yeah, Robin has done nothing on this,
Well,
Okay.
ever, but she keeps getting
well, at least last year we
appointed.
haven't done anything, but Glenn's the only one.
Okay.
It really was a committee of one.
We are going to do that this year.
We are gonna do the
Yeah.
CIP this year.
I keep hearing these
And the
threats.
CIP has to be ready on time this year.
Yes.
The letters have to go out the 1st of August this year.
Oh, I think we should do it before that.
I do
Yeah,
too.
I do too,
We're
yeah.
into the September deadline with the end of summer, so we'll get them out.
June.
June, July.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, do we have somebody nominate Robin?
I'll renominate Robin for that.
Second?
You can have two.
Anybody else want it?
I've been on it before, so.
I'll nominate Peter.
Okay.
So, all those in favor of Robin and Peter?
Hi.
Any other? Thank you for reminding us we need to do elections.
Yeah, I just realized that we.
And I'm hoping at our next meeting, we'll be able to welcome Liam.
Yeah. And I know this has been a busy time, but we usually do about this time of year for the first meetings of the month is sort of ideas of what we want to get accomplished.
Exactly.
And so maybe if we want to.
Next meeting.
Next meeting, bring some ideas in.
Yep.
Like.
After our discussion with the people at.
Yes, yeah, be after them, yeah.
Let's have a discussion of things that we want to look into for this year, zoning changes that need to be made.
We had a ton of changes this past year, let's not make.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
No, those were necessary changes. This year, we're going to have changes because there's a lot of legislation,
Yeah,
as far as
that's-
housing is concerned, that's going to pass. And we're going to have to change our ordinances and regulations to mirror what's required. So there will be some automatically coming because of that. Right. So think
Well,
about.
I should go for 25 more. That was a nightmare.
2.5.
That was a nightmare.
That was an absolute nightmare, but we got a lot of housekeeping taken care of all at once.
And if Robin wasn't here, we would have collapsed.
Thank you, Robin.
She's reading it all.
Amen. I declare the meeting adjourned.